2, 3. What is going on, YouTube? It is good to be back here at Hot Point Davis Arena for episode 9 of RHINOtalk. We are here live, as I said, at OVW's Hot Point Davis Arena, home of Ohio Valley Wrestling. Tomorrow, Superstars today. And today, I am extremely honored to have a gentleman here who I've kind of wanted to talk to for a while now, upon many references. The Hitman, DeNiro. Jay, brother, thank you very much for sitting in with us. I know we've been in contact for some while now.
Yeah.
So first thing I think our viewers were wondering is, as we just start off, is how'd you get your start in the business?
I've been in the business about 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
I started training in 99, the end of 99 in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Okay.
Same school that Mr. Kennedy came out of.
Mm.
And just, I didn't wrestle. I didn't travel like the normal. Once I graduated and was doing matches, a lot of guys were branching out and trying to get as many bookings as possible. I really didn't focus on that as much because I had a family. I had 5 children with my wife at the time, and I did all my shows right there in Green Bay because I didn't want to travel too much. They were at all the shows. Hard to bring your family to travel like that, you know.
Right.
And
that was going to be one of my questions on the road was how did it affect your family life as you got big? So
it didn't really affect my family life too bad. It was really, my start was really odd. It was late in life. I was 29 years old. I'd never even really known. I grew up in California, Sacramento, California.
Mm.
I'd never even seen indie wrestling posters or anything. All I knew about was at the time the Power Plant for WCW, and that was like $8,000. And from people I had talked to that had been through it, you know, you go out there and they teach you some stuff, but you really just kind of get beat down a lot. And it's not that they weren't training you, but it was that old school style of training.
Right.
And then there was no guarantee that you were going to be on WCW. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the biggest thing for me was I've always been, well, after my sophomore year in high school, I've always been really tall, and I was super thin. So even at 30 years old, I was only about 185 pounds, and I'm 6'6", so that's pretty little.
Well, I've seen you on screen. I've seen you in person. I know. I can only imagine your features when you were younger compared to now. And let's be frank here. I'm no small guy myself, and I'm about 5'8", about 340. So, but one question that a fan wanted me to ask you is, what inspired your Hitman gimmick?
Well, it kind of was inspired here. So I've always known about OVW. I was watching the WWE product whenever the Brock Lesnar's and the John Cena's and all those guys.
The Randy Orton's, all them.
Yeah, and I've always wanted to come here and at least see the arena. And even when the OVW wasn't developmental, it's still, you say OVW, everyone knew what it was, right?
Right.
And so I never really knew how to come down here and talk to people. And I went so out of 25 years, I went probably 22 years, same name, mildly same gimmick. I went by J Cash. It was a nickname I had when I was a kid. I grew up in a very ethnic, I guess you would say, neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Italian, but I was the only white face in about a 10-mile radius.
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever I started wrestling, the name, it was a cool name, Cash, you know. And my gimmick was kind of like Cena's gimmick. I wore basketball shorts and my hair was always braided. It was a very John Cena type, not right after him, because it was even before he had switched to that gimmick.
Right.
But I did that the whole time I was wrestling. And then I got an opportunity. My boy T-Dub, TW3, was wrestling out here.
Shout out to T-Dub.
Shout out T-Dub. Love you, brother. He was driving up here with the gentleman, and that guy, I forget who it was, but he stopped. He was going to stop coming up here. So T-Dub was living with me at the time. He was going through a divorce. He was living with me. And he asked me, he's like, hey, I don't want to drive by myself. Do you want to go to OVW? And I was like, yeah, we'll split the drive. I get a chance to see the arena. No really I don't want to say aspirations, but no really thought that I would get a shot to wrestle here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I came out. I saw the arena the first day I was here. I'd met Al before. I'd talked to him a couple of times out in Wisconsin. And I'm a pretty big dude. At the time, I was about 290. A little gut on me. Big gut on me.
I can
Pretty good
relate.
shape besides the gut was the thing that was had looked like a beer belly, even though I wasn't a big beer drinker.
I can relate, even though I'm not a beer drinker myself. So
yeah, I figured out what it was later, but it's because I drank so much vitamin D milk that gave me this gut. But Al said, "You have your license?" I said, "What do you mean license? I've never been in a state that had a license." And he said, "You go to the commission, you get a license." He said, "Excuse me, I'll put you on some dark matches." So he said, "The only thing we have to do, we have to come up, we got to figure out a different name because I already have cash flow here."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Okay." So literally on the drive home, my boy T-Dub says, "Hey, what are you going to do, bro?" And I said, "I don't know. I've only done one gimmick really my entire career." And he said, "Well, what if you went by," and he said it like the Spanish word for cash, DeNiro.
DeNiro.
He said, "What if you go by DeNiro? Because you're Italian.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds Italian, but it still means cash." And I was like, "Wow, that's awesome. I'll get some basketball shorts or some boxing shorts that have the Italian flag on it, and I'll just have an Italian gimmick, and I'll work on that and see what they like." And I did some dark matches here, and it was a very just bland. There wasn't a character behind it. And Doug Basham asked me one day, he says, "If you had to describe your character, what would you like to be?" And I said, "Well, I'm Italian. I'm a big dude." I said, "What if I was a hitman, a mob hitman? Doesn't matter who needs
Francis
me.
Ford Coppola style.
They pay me. I do what they need. Baby face, heel, it don't matter. They need me for something. They pay the price." He's like, "Okay." And so Dave Hero, really good friend of mine, Cal's dad, he said, "Well, I had a conversation with Al, and I asked him if we could do something with you." And he said, "I don't need a tall fat guy. You've got to lose some weight. Got to get in better shape." So Dave talked to me, and I immediately adjusted my diet, was in the gym, and in about 3 months, I dropped down from 285 to about 250. But I think I lost a lot more fat because I was gaining muscle too, being in the gym. And so literally I was at TV taping one day, had a wife beater on. Al walked by me and said, "God damn, DeNiro, you're looking good." I said, "Thanks, Al." The next day, Dave Hero called me and said, "Al has a gimmick for you. He wants you to be Tony Evans' security hitman."
Wow. Tony Evans.
Buy yourself a suit. And whenever he said Italian hitman, the first thing that came to mind is, "I'll get a pinstripe suit."
Yes.
I looked at old mob pictures, and it's really funny that mobsters didn't wear pinstripes. If you look at their suits, very rarely do they have pinstripes. That's a Hollywood thing.
Right.
But if you see a guy in pinstripes, you think, "Oh, that looks like a mobster."
Right.
It had the ponytail. It all kind of fell together, and we just kind of developed it more and more.
Right.
You have no idea how much I have learned just being the security for Tony Evans. He's an amazing talent. No matter the differences we have, he's an amazing talent.
Right.
I learned a lot from him. Doug and Al, they've taught me so much. All I did was come in here and I treated this like a job outside of wrestling. You're my boss. What do you want? They tell me. I don't care if I agreed with it, thought it was right, thought it was wrong. Yes, sir. No, sirs.
Right.
Go out there, do my job. And I've just been moving, and now we're where we are now.
Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad everything. I'm pretty interested in the stuff of how your characters develop. You touched base on a pretty good point about getting back to the gym, getting some weight off. I was wondering if you can give the viewers, in addition to myself, as far as getting into shape, and then as to now, like, what's your workout routine look like as far as getting in the gym and like on a when you're not competing, and also like what's your routine look like physically and maybe a little nutritionally?
When you're in professional wrestling, it's an aesthetic business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I looked at, I wrote down, I took about a week of what my nutrition was.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to people who were in good shape, not just people who are in good shape. I have it's a mental thing. It's not them, it's me. It's in my head.
Mm-hmm.
You go to a gym, a lot of times you have the personal trainers, they want to work with you. And I noticed that whenever a personal trainer wanted to work with me, it was really hard for me to take advice from someone that didn't look the way I wanted to look.
Right.
They weren't my height, my shoulder, like my body frame.
Mm-hmm.
They know everything that it takes to get me where I need to go. It's just
Right.
hard for me to take that advice. So what I did is I talked to people like Doug Basham.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to people like Jesse Goddard, guys who looked like I wanted to look. And I said, okay, this is what I'm eating. What do I have to change?
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard. It's really hard when you want to, whether you're in this business or not, just trying to cut weight and feel better, right?
Right.
Your
Right.
nutrition, you want to feel good about yourself, the
Right.
way you look and the way you feel, right?
Right.
So all I did was I figured out what I needed to do, and I made it an obsession. That's the biggest thing. You get people at the beginning of the year and they make their New Year resolution. They want to drop this weight or that weight, and they go in the gym and they're doing this stuff and they're working out and their nutrition and everything, and then you kind of fall off and you gain some of the weight back. Some people don't, some people do. But the thing is I know what I wanted, which was wrestling for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I did was I made it an obsession. If I worked out 6 days a week. If I couldn't go to the gym because I didn't have someone to watch the kids and the wife was working, I was pissed. I made my nutrition an obsession. I didn't eat anything but jasmine white rice and fat-free turkey for about 3 months.
Wow.
And then my breakfast stuff was, good, nutritious stuff,
Right.
some fruit, oatmeal, egg whites. But you have to talk to people to know what they're doing, because you can talk to anybody. If you go outside the stadium right now, there's a line of people waiting for this pay-per-view.
Right.
You can talk to all of them and they'll all have different ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But unless they have done it, those are the people I talk to.
Right. Right.
And so it's just, you have to make an obsession. You have to make the gym an obsession. You have to make your nutrition an obsession. And when one day or one meal doesn't go as planned, it literally should upset you. You should be, and I'm not talking to upset you like you're throwing shit across the room.
Right.
But it's got to, man, I can't believe, when I work out, I get jittery sometimes.
Right.
So the thing that'll stop that is some sugar, because I would take sugar out of my diet. So I'd go to the gas station after a workout and I'd get a Dr. Pepper, because I love Dr. Pepper. And I hated drinking it because it tasted so good, because I wasn't eating any sugar. Right. And that's the best taste of Dr. Pepper in the world, when you have one you haven't had one in a while.
So sort of like a cheat day almost.
Yeah. And you just have to make it an obsession. That's all I did. That's all I did.
Well, since you're on the subject of nutrition, I was just wondering, from one who has some Italian, I'm partial Italian too. Mm-hmm. That's part of my ethnicity. It's mainly Sicilian Neapolitan. Mm-hmm. I was wondering from one paisan to another, so to speak. I was just wondering, on the subject of nutrition, is there any, and as far as keeping your routine up, was there any recipes you recommend us trying? I know a couple of viewers were, a couple of anonymous viewers, were looking to start cooking some Italian food, and I was wondering if there's any recipes.
Italian food's hard, because if you look at Italians are usually pretty thick people, you know what I mean? I had to take, and everyone's body's different, right? My son, if you look at him, he's 5'10", and he's 145 pounds.
Wow.
He eats more than I do. He just can't gain weight, and he eats everything under the sun. If I eat pasta, I gain weight. So I had to pull pasta out of my diet. It sucked for me, because being Italian, and I'm almost full-blooded Italian. I'm on like 80% Italian. My dad was.
I'm slightly less than you are. I'm about 65, and the rest is a mixture of Moroccan, and
all good food.
A little bit of Scandinavian, and the rest is Pawnee, Chickasaw.
Yeah, my dad was he was half Sicilian and half the other half of his family was from Rome. So that was hard. I still struggle with the stomach. It's a struggle. Some people, once I got to a certain age, after about 35, I broke that 200-pound barrier, and then it was, I had to watch it. And I'm not as fit big. When I lived in Las Vegas, I was about 285, 290. I looked not as, I've never been that bodybuilder cut. I was about the size of, if any of the viewers remember Shira.
Shira, yeah.
Just solid arms, big barrel chest. and I could never do that get those cuts because I wasn't working out to do that. I just wanted
Right.
that mass. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, Italian recipes, it's hard. If I do eat pasta, it's wheat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I try to stay away from starches, but
Right.
everyone's body's different. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you might have someone who can eat. A lot of people can't eat rice. They gain weight with rice. I don't.
Right.
It makes me feel good, but you burn through it when you're in the gym too.
Right.
Your nutrition is going to be different. I can eat a whole lot more food and different foods when I'm in the gym rather than if I was just sitting at home and I was eating and not working out.
Right.
So all that exercise helps too. You know what I mean?
Right. Now, a couple other questions. Getting back to OVW as a whole. I understand you're involved with the academy as well. I was wondering if you touch base what your role is with them.
Yeah. Everyone knows Cashflow.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows that he got an amazing opportunity. So happy for Cashflow. Shout out Cashflow.
Cashflow. What's up, Bigfoot?
Right? Yeah, out there with Sly.
Sylvester Stallone, Tulsa King, baby.
His second season is Bigfoot out there.
Yeah, baby.
And because he was filming and stuff, he was our beginners coach. The guys who first come in, they do 3 months in the beginners class. It's all basics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had a conversation with him, and he said he didn't think he could continue coaching for the simple fact that he couldn't be here when he was filming. So I went to Doug Basham. I said, hey, do you think it's even worth me going to Alan asking if I could take that beginner class? Because I have a lot of experience. And they had a conversation, and they had me shadow Doug through the beginners class for 3 months for one session. And then the next session, he kind of shadowed me in the background. He let me do everything, and he just corrected any of the things that I wasn't doing the way Al wants them, because this is Al's school. We do it Al's way, right? And so this is I have this 3 months, April to July, is my first 3 months by myself. I only have a couple students, and they're doing really well. And if you want to be a professional wrestler, there's no better school than OVW.
I've heard that, and in regards to the No Better School in OVW, is there any message you want to send to anybody that wants to pursue in professional wrestling? If you give a message to them if they want to pursue it, what would you say? And why do you think they should come to OVW?
The thing about professional wrestling is when you look at like independent wrestling, there's thousands of promotions. And out of those thousands and probably tens of thousands of promotions in the United States. Just
the United States alone. Good knows how many.
Oh, every city has something.
Right.
Wisconsin is full of them, and there's multiple schools.
Too many.
I looked at the school I went to was because it was the only school available to me at that time. But right around the time that I started training, Ken Anderson, Mr. Kennedy, was being looked at and brought in for dark matches and tryout matches and this and that. So I knew that the training that he got at that school was a good base and a good training, right?
Right.
If I had a message to give anyone who wants to be a professional wrestler, this is what I say. Number one, ain't ballet.
Right.
If you think that that's a trampoline and it's not going to hurt, I have bad news for you. Every time you hit that mat, it sucks. But you have to have a passion for this. It has to be an obsession as well.
Right.
This has to be something that you love so much that you can't imagine not doing it, right?
Right.
And the reason why is if you're half-assing it, then when you get in the ring with guys, we're putting our lives in each other's hands. And I don't want to be in the ring with someone who just kind of wants to do this on the weekends whenever he can, because he's not taking it very serious, right?
Got to be committed.
Absolutely. So that's number one. Be committed. Love this. Make sure that this is something that you can't imagine it not being part of your life. Then when you start looking at schools, I always tell people, try to go to a school where someone at that school has been there and done that.
Right.
There's all kind of schools out there.
Make OVW an offer that they can't refuse. That's what I would. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but that's what I would.
Absolutely.
Say so.
OVW for me is the best school because of what we do. And what I mean by that is every Thursday we run a live TV show. Mm-hmm. There's only one live TV show that's been running longer than OVW. Raw. And SmackDown's right behind us.
Right. I remember I followed OVW since its inception. all the way up. I mean, I've seen many of the good ones come and go through here and get called up, like yourself, John Cena. You know, we mentioned Brock Lesnar, Shelton Benjamins, all those guys. I've even been to a few shows, including tonight. I understand tonight is Hard Reset, and we're just uh, a few anticipating moments away from the doors opening. I understand we're about an hour and a half, maybe 2.5 hours from showtime.
Mm-hmm.
And since we're on the subject of OVW, I can't really think of a better um, promotion to be involved with as far as competing and getting your name out there.
Absolutely.
And I want to, on behalf of some of my viewers, I want to thank you guys for everything you do. A couple follow-up questions before I let you go. I know you gotta get ready. A friend of mine was wondering, as far as your talking back to your career so far, who would you say has been your favorite person to work with in ring? I mean, as a tag team and one-on-one.
A lot of people ask me how I've done this for so long, especially at my age. I turned 54 last Sunday.
So we understand. A happy belated birthday from our viewers. So. And a happy Father's Day. I know Father's Day tomorrow.
Yeah, because and as Tony has mentioned,
we got light on it. Hey, don't turn that back off.
I have quite a few children. I have 10 girls and 1 boy.
Wow.
So that's where Tony gets the 32 kids and the 42 kids. So the thing about it is, family's hard, right? Just normally. What I tell the people that come into wrestling is, let your significant others know that you're going to miss birthdays, you're going to miss Christmas, you're going to miss holidays,
Thanksgiving, graduations,
weddings that significant other wants to go with. Their friend invites you, you can't go. I've missed so much, but I've been lucky to have people in my life that understood that this was my passion, didn't give me a hard time about it, let me do my thing. It's hard to do. I haven't missed anything with my children.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, like, I haven't missed them growing up at all.
Right.
You know, I've missed some games if they were in sports, and I've missed concerts and this and that.
Right.
But they've always been really understanding. So having a family that understands what you want to do is very important.
Right. Now, one final question I have to ask, and this is from one of the Power Twins, John and Josh, who are going to be here tonight. They actually got me the tickets for the show.
Okay.
They want to know if you ever were to get called up to WWE or Impact or AEW, multi-part question: who would your dream opponent be? What kind of match stipulation would you want to have against them? And who would you love to have a dream match and stipulation match here in OVW against?
One of the questions, let me back up one more. You said one of my favorite matches that I've had.
Yes.
People I've worked with.
Yes.
It probably would be a shock to hear this because of how long I've been wrestling, but my favorite match, and I'll say matches because I've had
several,
3, I believe, with, is Cal Hero. I was around him and my son started training at the same time in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't his trainer, but I helped him with
Help break him into the business.
Some training and stuff. His dad is an amazing guy, really good friend of mine.
Oh, yes.
He's been my favorite opponent because we go out there. He's so smart. He knows this business so well. He knows the match. And that's been my favorite opponent here. Dream opponent, it's really hard because to get called up is a dream in itself. So anyone on any of those platforms, whether it be AEW, Impact, WWE, anyone on that roster is really a dream to wrestle because you're at that level.
Right.
I think a dream opponent, it would have to be someone from the past at that level, at a WWE type level, would be Road Dogg. Road Dogg's always been my favorite wrestler of all time.
Road Dogg, Jesse James.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when him and Billy Gunn got together, the New Age Outlaws, and I understand a little bit of spoiler here. I understand that Billy Gunn is going to be on the card teaming with Cal Hero tonight. As a matter of fact, they're going to be taking on Shotgun Tony Gunn and the anti-hero Crixus.
Yep.
And special stipulation. I hear if Cal wins, he gets 5 minutes with Doug Basham, and if him and Billy Gunn lose, he leaves OVW.
Yep. So that's one to watch.
So I'm actually looking forward to that match. Here's hoping that Cal and Billy are victorious, because I personally think Cal Hero is the future of OVW, and Jamie Noel Vinci has said himself, he's the comment that nobody saw coming. He's got a bright future.
Absolutely.
So
and he's not going to be at OVW long. I guarantee you, within the next couple years max, and I'm overshooting. Cal Hero will be at NXT.
I could not agree with you more. I would say, at minimum, the next 18 months, maybe 2 years tops. He's getting called up. And I'm gonna vouch right now. I would like to see Cal be the OVW champion for at least 30 days by the end of this year. I've said the same thing about Donovan Cecil, so that's 2 people. And I would like to have them both have one OVW championship reign for no less than 30 days, a 30-day calendar month.
Well, and one thing too is, again, I've wrestled for 25 years. I've wrestled all over the Midwest, the West Coast. When I lived in Vegas, I was wrestling California, Arizona, all those the Midwest areas. And the thing is this is the most stacked roster I've ever been a part of. OVW is the best place to come, because when you come here, you don't just learn how to wrestle. You learn how to work TV. The students learn how to run the cameras, run production in the back. There are so many things, because not everybody who wants to come in and be a wrestler has the ability. It's not for everybody. Some people might have to be a referee, or they may have to be a cameraman or work sound. But there's all those opportunities here. This is the best place to train. Hands down, in my opinion.
And that's why in my opinion, that's why the motto of OVW is the way it is, and it's more than just the competition. Tomorrow Superstars today really means not just the competitors, but everybody in the back, agents, refs, instructors, camera, sound, everybody. It's a superstar. And with that, I would like to close by saying thank you very much. My name is Rhino, the Artful Rhino. Hit that like button, subscribe, ring that notification bell like you're ringing a championship victory. For Jay DeNiro, for Ohio Valley Wrestling, Jay, I will let you go, my brother. So we are just a few short moments away from hard resets. And with that, I'm going to reset my gear, saying, here we go.